next question is, what is the difference between being inspired by and copying? And I again touched it up in the last answer, ever so lightly. I think copying and being maybe a little too much inspired by somebody or something is a problem in the art world, or in the world in general, that's been around forever and that forever will be around. Because let's face it, there is nothing new under the sun. You can't reinvent the wheel. It has all been done before, no matter what you do. If you grab a pencil or if you grab a marker and you just sit down and draw something or paint something or whatever, if you create just something, there's an idea coming up and you create it, no matter how unique you think it is, if you afterwards would Google it, you can be sure that it has been done already. It has been there already. Because it is so hard to really come up with something that is 100% unique. It is actually, I'm not sure, I would even say it is impossible. All you can do is add yourself to it to make it unique and to make it your own. But you kind of have to stick to certain basics that have been around forever. And copying. Actually, copying in the beginning is definitely a good thing. We all learn by copying. Let's take a very, very simple approach to this. Little children, or everything that we learned as from the beginning on, little children, they learn by copying. They learn by copying their parents. They learn to talk by copying their parents. You might remember, like, teaching your children the first words. It's like repeating over and over again until your child repeats it, and yeah, it's copying. It definitely is copying. Kids learn everything by copying in school, learning to write. In the beginning, you don't know the meaning of the different letters when you start to write. You just copy them from the chalkboard, from what your teacher kind of writes, and then you copy it. So in the beginning, when you learn something, it is always some sort of copying in one way or another. And that's a good thing, that if there would be no copying, we all wouldn't be able to learn and to move forward and to just learn new things. But then, at a certain point, it is important that you move from that basic, or from those basic things that you learned, into your own direction, and that you put your own self into it to make it unique. Because you want to learn by copying, but you don't want to continue to copy somebody. And I think there's a difference between copying and copying. You can copy something to learn from it, and that's a good way of copying. And you can copy something or somebody for the end result, because you want a copy of something. And that's, for me, not a good thing to copy. So it is always like, copying definitely can be a good thing up to a certain point. But let's face it, the basics, they will always remain the same. Like, let's take a face. If you draw a face, there will always be two pairs of eyes, one pair of eyes. Two eyes, there will be one nose, there will be some lips. The basic face proportion, it is just there, it is just given. You can't change, you can only change things up to a certain point, because you still want it to look good and look appealing, right? Of course you could like paint a face with 3 eyes and 2 noses. I guess that's been there already as well. But that's probably not what you want, right? So you really have to make small changes and add small things to make it your own. Because the basics, you can only change them up to a certain point. But then you can add your personal style. You can add your elements that you want to add. You can add different colors. Your style could be like a certain color palette that you continue to work in. Your style could be, again, like stylistic elements, like using line work, using cross hatches, using paint splatters, whatever it is, just add it to those basics to make it your own. And most of the time it's really just small changes. Like an eye is an eye, let's face it, but there are so many variations of eyes, different shapes, different forms, different colors, of course, different line work styles, bold lines, thin lines, no outlining at all. So within that range, within that basic information that needs to remain the same, you can really play, and there's a wide range to play. And that's the range that you can use to kind of create your own style. And again, I mentioned that before, if you copy to learn from somebody, it is always good to copy and learn from many different sources. Let's take the example of children again. In the beginning, they only learn by copying their parents, or maybe their siblings, or maybe their close family members, so the people that kind of surround them on a daily basis, right? But once they grow, they maybe go to kindergarten, they have friends, they have a family of friends, they meet neighbors, they go to school, they have classmates. So the range of people that children copy and learn from to finally, like, how do you say, till it kind of sums up in their personality, that kind of forms their personality. It is a combination of the influence of everything that's surrounding the children, right? So actually, the more the children see, experience, the bigger, the greater the chances are that they really learn a lot, and that gives them the chance to really expand their horizon and to really become a very confident, unique person with a unique personality. And that's the same in art. The more different places and different sources you kind of use to draw inspiration from, to extract things that speak to you and to put them back into your own work, in your own personal style, the better it is for you. So really try to find different sources. So next question, how do you challenge yourself creatively to further deepen your own style? And again, for me, the style or the personal style is an ever-evolving thing. It's not a thing you find, you have, and that's it. It continues to evolve and to develop. And I think that's important because you want to continue to discover new things, discover new techniques, and have other things influence your work as you go on in life. Because again, my work, for example, reflects a lot what's going on in my life at that point. And that, of course, also kind of changes my personal style. So for me, actually, it is key to keep on playing and keep an open mind and really try new things. Even though you think you have found your style and you're happy with it, and you still want to play, have fun, and kind of bring new influences, new things into your work to keep it fresh, to keep it alive, and to keep that passion inside of you alive. So for me, that's actually the challenge, to keep that passion alive. But again, if you keep on exploring new things, new supplies, new techniques, and if you keep on developing and evolving, I'm sure you're on a good road. I feel that I'm on a good path with that. So next question is, how often do you create art, and do you think that productivity plays a big role in developing your own style? For me, it depends on what you understand or what the meaning of productivity means to you. For me, productivity means that you work on a project start to finish. So I have had a productive day or productive week, however, if I finished projects. That's productivity for me. And in that term, I think productivity isn't really important or doesn't play a big role in developing your own style. What does, however, play a big role in developing your own style is the process of creating. So not really like starting a project and working on it for days and days until you finish it, because most of the time if you work on a real project, you're just, it feels intimidating to play and maybe to play with some ideas and play with some style finding because you have a finished project in mind. So for me, this actually is counterproductive. What really helps for me, or what I would suggest you, what really helps is to just take a journal, a book, whatever, which you make or which you turn into your like style finding book, idea finding, practicing, playing book, because you will see that you work much more freely in a journal like that, and you really dare to work maybe in a different way than you usually do in a journal like that, because what's inside of this journal stays inside of this journal. This is just your place to play, to have fun, to experiment. And I think that's important in style finding, that you play and experiment and create something on a daily, maybe not daily, but on a regular base. Because this is the only way to really develop your own style. Because it's not, again, something that you find and then you have it, but it's a process, okay? And if you use a journal like that, I have a journal like that, and I still remember I tried different variations of eyes, of lips, of noses, of face shapes, of hairstyles, of hairdos. I experimented with different color combinations, and by playing and by experimenting, you will feel what matches you and what matches your taste and which direction you want your art to go into. And this is an important thing, I think, on this style finding process, to really continue to play and to think outside the box, try different things, because this is the only way you will find out what you like and find out what you, or which direction you want to go into. So in terms of working on something daily, definitely a yes. I think it's important for finding your own style for this journey. But again, not thinking in finishing projects, because this, again, for me feels rather counterproductive. You can work on finishing projects more often if you kind of know the direction you want to go into. But when it comes to experimenting and style finding, just working on small tiny things, not having to finish something inside a journal is really key. That really helps, and it's so much fun, and you can always flip back and look at the different elements, different things that you tried, and then use those in your artwork and maybe integrate those in your artwork to create a finished piece. So that actually was a process that always helped me. Next question is, do you challenge yourself out of your comfort zone to kind of broaden your creative horizon? Yes, I definitely do. I think it's key. It's important to keep on developing your art and your style, that you continue to challenge yourself and that you continue to work on different things and continue to explore different things and different variations, even though you might already have the style that you like and that you want to continue to work in. But for example, if I explore a completely different art style, I know myself that I don't want to completely move into that direction. But however, there's always something, just maybe just a tiny little something that you take out of it and that you maybe can add to your style and your work and into the direction you want to go into. So exploring outside your comfort zone and thinking outside the box, I think always helps. And it keeps the passion and the fun alive. Because if you would do the same thing over and over and over again, staying true to your style only, it would become boring over time. You always want to make sure that you integrate some other things, some new things into your artwork, into your personal style that you maybe already have. For example, lately I love brush lettering, okay? And I'm practicing brush lettering. Not because I want to become the world's best brush letterer, and not because in the future I want to create brush lettered invitations and that kind of stuff. I love that, but it's not me. But I'm practicing brush lettering because I thought it would be a perfect addition to my work, to the work that I usually do. Because this way I wouldn't have to rely on alphabet stamps, on printed out texts, because right now I don't really like my handwriting on my projects. But I know that if I explore this field of brush lettering a little more, and if I practice that and get better at it, I will be able to add the brush lettering to my work, to my projects, to hand letter my quotes, my titles, and that would totally add to my style. So I'm exploring a whole different field, but in the back of my head I know that it's not a direction I want to move into, but it will give me something that I'll be able to integrate into my future projects, into my style even. And I think that's important. Next question. How do you stick to your own style and to your own voice without being influenced by too many other things or other artists? For me, as simple as it sounds, I just try to limit the amount of time that I spend looking at what other people do. And for example, looking at Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, you could spend hours and hours and hours surfing the web, and there's so much information, so much inspiration that's kind of floating your head. And for me this is kind of an overstimulation, and this actually doesn't really inspire me, but it kind of blocks me, okay? Then there's a merry-go-round in your head going round and round and round. And from that stage I totally can't create at all. So for me it really is essential actually that I limit myself in looking at other people's art, okay? Of course I do look at Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram every now and then, and I totally enjoy looking at other people's work. Of course I do, but it is really essential, I think, that you don't let it, how do you say, let it come too close to you, let it like doubt your own work, because I know many people look at other people's art and in the back of their head there's this tiny voice telling them, oh my god, look at that, oh my god, look at that, they are so good, look what they create, you are not as good as they are. If you've experienced, if you are at that point while looking at other people's art or while looking at something else, stop it. Focus on your own work, because it's just counterproductive, okay? And your own message, your own voice will kind of get lost this way. If you always look at what other people do, and if you always try to keep up with the Joneses. Was it a movie? I think. I don't know. You always try to keep up with what others do, and if you always try to chase the latest trends. I myself, sometimes it feels like I'm living under a rock, because usually I realize that there's a trend out there once the trend is already going away again. So really don't try to chase trends, don't try to follow leaders, if you can say so, okay? Look at work, let it inspire you, maybe draw some inspiration from it, and that is it. Then focus on your own thing, because again, otherwise your own message, your own spirit will kind of get lost in that huge cloud of information that's kind of around 24/7. So we have another question, which is, how do you deal with inner and outer critics? And don't we all know them, especially the inner critics? I'm sure you all know those inner critics. Let's first focus on outer critics. Actually, in both areas, there's like positive criticism, which I think is good, and which I think we can get something out of this. And there's like negative, deconstructive criticism, which is bad, which we should kind of block out, okay? Outside criticism, of course it is good if you have like other people telling you things you could improve in your art, okay? Especially if you're taking classes, you really want that feedback from a teacher, from somebody else. And constructive criticism, like telling you, maybe you should, or you could try it this way, maybe it would look even better, what do you think? That's positive criticism, and I love that type of criticism. I even ask for it. I ask my husband all the time to kind of criticize my work or to tell me what he thinks, and I definitely want to hear what he really thinks. I don't want to hear like, oh, that's good. I really want his feedback, okay? I think that's a positive thing. And then there's this negative criticism which comes from the outside world of people who maybe just don't get it, who just don't get your style, who just don't get your message, the message you want to bring across. And for me, just shield them off. Talk to them. No, seriously, it really helps, because you can't please everybody, and you don't even have to try, because it will kind of break you, okay? So positive criticism, yes. Negative, no. And it's actually the same with the inner voice, the inner critic voice that we all kind of have inside of us. We all know, like the little angel sitting on one shoulder and the little devil on another shoulder. And the angel keeps telling you, yeah, you're good, you can make it, it's great. And the other one, the devil, is telling you, you are not good enough. Who do you think you are? We all know that. So my advice, I know it is hard, and I still struggle with this again and again and again. And no matter if you get better, you are never at a point where you're like 100% satisfied and there's no inner critic. But again, this inner critic is good to a certain point, you know. It keeps you, it kind of pushes you forward, it keeps you going, it makes you just makes sure that you continue to grow and to learn. So that's a positive thing. But this deconstructive voice telling you you're not good enough, this looks like beep. Who do you think you are, thinking you could be like this, you can do this? Try, I know it is hard, but try to just silence that voice inside of your head, okay? Just smile, wave, say thank you, and move on with doing your thing, okay? Don't let this voice, this inner critic, hold you back, because it is just so sad. The other day, I had a little boy at the animal shelter, and we talked about like painting and drawing, and he looked at my paintings of the pets, of the cats and dogs, and he told me that he loves to draw, but that he stopped to draw because in art school, or in school, the art lessons, his teacher told him the way he has to do it, and he didn't like that, and the way he did it was not appreciated by the teacher, and the teacher actually told him that he's not good enough if he is not like following the strict rules of what art is supposed to look in school or in the eyes of the teacher, whatever. And I think that's so sad if you let critics or criticism, no matter if it's like your inside voice or from the outer world, holding you back, and if you're letting it stop you from doing what you're passionate about. So sad, so don't let this happen, okay? Next question. I'm so sorry guys, I know those videos are like super long, and actually I always plan to just answer with 1 or 2 sentences, but I'm just like taking off. I hope you don't mind. So next question is, how do you get out of a creative rut, or if you're feeling stuck, if you're having a creative block? And to be honest, the only solution that helps me is to step away from what you are doing. Either I need to completely step away for a couple of days, maybe it's just 1 or 2 days, maybe it takes a week before like the muse is coming back. But stepping away always helps me, and actually it's the only thing that helps me. Because ever so often I hear that if you are stuck in a creative rut, you need to get new inspiration, like surf the internet for inspiration. But for me, I mentioned that before, this kind of just adds to this creative block, okay? Because just imagine that feeling you're not able to create right at that moment, okay? And then you see all those pieces of art and get all those inspirations, and for me, you might be like completely different, but for me they make it even worse, okay? They clutter your brain even more. That's not what I need at that moment. So for me it just helps to step away, go outside, take a walk, or just again, like, don't go into the studio for a couple of days. That happens to me, and it always helps. I just do other things. I read books, okay? I love to read books. I maybe watch some TV shows. I just do completely different things. And once my brain is kind of starting to clear up again, or things get sorted again, I don't know how to kind of express that, but I think you get the idea. Creativity comes back, and at that point I can go back to the studio and create. Maybe I don't have to stop completely to create in that time or during that period, but sometimes I create something completely different, okay? So let's say usually I draw, I paint, I do my sketches, I do my watercolor work, I do my art journal pages. I have to step away at least from this part. I might do something completely different. I might try my hands on some clay, or on creating some jewelry. Actually, this is a piece I just created like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was like totally stuck in a creative rut, and I just wanted to try something completely different, and I tried my hands on some jewelry with some crystals and some wire wrapping, so something totally out of my comfort zone, but I enjoyed it so much, and creativity was back in no time. So that really helps too, to just do something different. If you have to do something creative, then just do something different from what you usually do. And the last question, guys, and I'm thankful for that, because it's late in the evening, the sun's setting, and it's getting darker and darker, and I wanted to finish this video with daylight. So yeah, last question. Even though I love to answer those questions. It's kind of interesting for myself to explore those questions for myself inside. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, last question. What tips or hints would you give another artist who is trying to find and trying to develop their own style? And actually, all the things that I mentioned in the other answers. Just keep on playing, keep on having fun. Don't push too hard. I think that's super important. Don't be so focused on finding your style that you completely lose the passion and the joy of creating, okay? Because it's better to create something which might not be your very own, very unique style yet, but you create and you enjoy the process, right? And the worst thing is if you kind of block yourself and you stop creating because you push too hard, and you have the feeling that you can't reach that point sooner or later. Because again, style finding, style development, oh my gosh, I talked so much today. Style development is a long process, an ongoing process with a beginning, but actually I think with no end, because we always, as a human, we always change also in life. Our style, our personal style changes. our outer appearance changes. We change our hairdo, our hairstyle. Maybe our style of clothing changes. Our life situation changes. Our family situation changes. And why shouldn't our style change? Why should our style remain the same once you found it, right? It's a process, and really enjoy that process. And maybe just even forget about style finding. Just have fun, enjoy, and work, create, and you will see down the road this process of creating will definitely bring you closer to your own style and help you to find your own style. And again, don't worry too much about it. I think another thing that's blocking people is that they think really they have to reinvent the wheel. Make sure to keep that in mind, okay? There's nothing new under the sun. There is nothing that hasn't been done before. So you don't try to reinvent the wheel, okay? Just try to bring your own personality, your own energy into your work and make changes. Create fun combinations of different styles, of different things you learned, tweak them, make them your own. And that's the road to finding your own style, I think. And along the way, always have fun and enjoy what you're doing. I think that's the most important thing. Because what is a style good for if you're not enjoying what you do, right? Okay, and I think that's a good closing word. I totally hope you enjoyed this interview. And again, I'm so sorry that it turned into such a long vlog. But I don't know, I just love to talk. It's my personal style. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. If you stayed with me to this point, till the end. And I hope it could maybe give you the one or the other hint or idea or tip on how to approach some style finding, some style development. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching guys, and talk to you all soon. Bye!